How does an actress go from being framed by the male gaze to quietly building an empire behind it? Today, we're talking about Sydney Sweeney, her rise from Euphoria to executive producer, the controversies that shaped her public image, and the question at the center of it all: is her visibility a form of autonomy, complicity, or something far more strategic? Sydney Sweeney is still in her 20s, but she's already operating at a level most actors take decades to reach. She's producing her own films, running a lingerie company, and landing major studio roles. But there's something worth examining about how she's gotten here and where she's headed next. When Sydney landed Cassie Howard in HBO's Euphoria in 2019, she became the center of conversations that had very little to do with her actual performance. The character required nudity and vulnerability, and suddenly Sydney's body became the subject of cultural debate. She was praised for her acting while simultaneously being analyzed, compared, and dissected in ways that had nothing to do with her craft. She was 22 years old. What she did after that matters. Rather than retreating or trying to distance herself from that visibility, she leaned into building something. In 2020, she founded 50/50 Films. She started taking on producer credits. In 2023, when she appeared in Anyone But You, she wasn't just an actor for hire. She was an executive producer who contributed to the script and helped shape the creative direction. The film grossed $220 million worldwide. She also made deliberate casting choices. Immaculate, a psychological horror about bodily autonomy and violation, was something she had purchased the rights to years before filming. Reality required her to completely transform into Air Force veteran reality winner. Christy was a biopic about boxer Christy Martin that cost $35 million to produce and barely made back its budget, but Sydney has defended it as deeply meaningful work regardless of the box office numbers. These aren't random career moves. There's a thread connecting them. Stories about women with agency, women fighting systems designed to contain them, women whose bodies are battlegrounds for other people's control. Then there's everything else that happened. In July 2025, an American Eagle jeans campaign with the tagline, "Sydney Sweeney has great jeans," became the center of a viral controversy. People debated whether the wordplay on jeans and jeans was eugenics rhetoric. Conservative commentators embraced her as a symbol. The internet fractured over what the ad meant. Sydney eventually addressed it in interviews, explaining she simply loved the jeans and supported the brand. But the gap between intention and interpretation had widened dramatically. A few months later, she launched Siren, her lingerie brand. She spoke about it as reclamation and empowerment. She emphasized her diverse team of female designers, her focus on fit for different body types. Then, in January 2026, she was filmed climbing the Hollywood sign to hang bras as a promotional stunt, one that apparently happened without proper authorization from the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. What was meant as bold became complicated. Meanwhile, her political registration as a Republican became public knowledge, and suddenly there was a framework through which people interpreted everything she did. Voting records were dug up. Conservative outlets claimed her as one of theirs. Some argued her silence on these issues was complicity. Others saw it as a principled refusal to perform politics. There wasn't agreement on what her silence meant, which might be the whole point. If you look only at what Sydney has chosen to make, not what's been written about her in headlines, a different picture emerges. She's produced stories about complicated, dark, morally compromised women. She's built a production company. She's negotiated significant creative control over her projects. She's refused to make herself smaller or more palatable in order to manage how she's perceived. But here's where it gets complicated. Visibility has a cost that men rarely pay. A male actor can build a production company and nobody reads it as a statement about anything. A male actor can launch a business and it's just business. A male actor can stay silent about politics and it's just privacy. When Sydney does these things, each action gets filtered through arguments about what her body represents, what her politics might be, whether she's feminist enough or complicit enough or using her privilege correctly. She's addressed this directly. In her 2026 interview with Cosmopolitan, she said plainly, "I can't make everyone love me. I know what I stand for." She's also said she doesn't think she needs to correct people who misunderstand her, because there's no winning that game. You either perform the clarification they want and then get accused of lying, or you stay silent and get accused of complicity. As of early 2026, several things are in motion. Euphoria Season 3 is premiering in April, a major return to the show that made her famous, now with a 5-year time jump that moves the characters beyond high school. This is significant. She's coming back to the role that built her career, but from a different place professionally and personally. She's also set to play Kim Novak in Scandalous, directed by Coleman Domingo, which will shoot in early 2026. She's starring in Gundam, adapted from the Japanese sci-fi franchise, alongside Noah Centineo. And The Housemaid's Secret, the sequel to last year's massive hit, is in development with her attached to return. These aren't small projects. These are major studio and prestige productions. She's not being positioned as a supporting player or a mysterious love interest. She's being trusted with leading roles, with carrying films, with the kind of visibility that comes with being the central figure audiences are paying to see. What becomes clear when you step back and look at Sydney's actual trajectory is that she's made calculated choices about her career while remaining largely opaque about her interior life. Some people read that as feminist, a woman building power on her own terms, refusing to perform emotional labor for audiences who feel entitled to her clarification. Others read it as evasive, a woman who benefits from her privilege and refuses to use her platform to clarify her values. Both readings might contain truth, or neither might. The point is that Sydney seems to have made peace with not controlling what people think about her, which is different from not controlling what she actually does. The bigger question, maybe, is what her career says about how we talk about women in Hollywood. When a woman builds a production company and makes deliberate creative choices, do we discuss her as a business person and an artist? Or do we filter it through debates about her body, her politics, and what her visibility should mean? When a woman refuses to engage in the outrage cycle and stays focused on her work, is that admirable or problematic? What do you think that distinction even means? The gap between Sydney Sweeney the person and Sydney Sweeney the discourse topic might be unbridgeable, but her actual work, the film she's chosen, the company she's built, the project she's shepherding, keeps moving forward regardless. Whether that's a form of power or a form of evasion probably depends on your perspective. This is Ladies First, watching women in movies. Here, we empower women by reviewing and discussing films that highlight their stories, struggles, and achievements. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.